Okay, that was interesting. So, okay. I know what I did. There we go. You gotta hide it. All right. It's the whole idea of activating and hiding and all these kinds of things. So, all right. So yeah, we're back. It's another. See, and I found. Oh, you remember yesterday when I was trying to find like the intros and everything?
Yeah.
It was just in a separate tab, and I had to open the separate tab to make sure that I could find the intros and things.
I just imagine this running like to pull back the curtain, if anyone's ever seen like a big kahuna, like a broadcast, like a board in a truck.
Yeah.
Like what a technical director is going to be using. I just imagine that
it is
condensed into a tiny computer.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have the big kahuna where all the buttons are lighting up and I can just reach and touch one instead of opening stuff.
Yes. Michael Head is taking a part of our Tuesday tradition of playing golf. And so Michael's playing golf today morning to, yes, Rich, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. That's what we're doing. So thanks to everybody who is in the Twitch pitch. It's a power hour this morning. We're going to the top of the hour.
I hope that's the case. Well, I hope Jason is watching and currently throwing something.
After he figured it out. He's like, no, you got to hit this button. You've got to hit this button and this button and this button.
Just SOS is coming from Jason the whole time.
Yeah, no, but no. So it's Tuesday thoughts, and so whatever is on your mind about Tuesday, but I'm going to go with morning kickoff first and foremost, and it is brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, and they are also on various other social media. They're on the Bird app, they're on the FaceSpace, and they're on the Gram at Kickoff Coffee CO. Once again, thanks to everybody who has been investing in Kickoff Coffee. The boss likes the dark blends herself from if you've ever been to one of our remotes recently, or you've been able to see our friends at American Football Provisions at any recent period of time, Kickoff Coffee, they're there on display. They're there with us on the remotes. And the boss has taken a shine to the dark roasts. And so we have been investing in Kickoff Coffee. And thanks to everybody who has been as well. Use the code Soccer down here 15. You get 15% off your investment in Kickoff Coffee. But what Kickoff Coffee does in return is they invest 10% into a youth development. So it's great to see what they're doing to help boost the youth game. 10% of their proceeds after you use the code Soccer down here 15 to invest in Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And our morning kickoff has to do with our international nightmare known as Cristiano Ronaldo. And Jarrett, Joe Prince Wright from our friends at NBC Sports came out about a half hour ago. And I know that this may not surprise you, but apparently Manchester United has finally said, you know, dog, you can go ahead and find a new club. But that's great and all. But who's going to have the funds? Who's going to have the funds to take care of the gentleman in his new employ? Because he wants to play in Champions League football, and it could be Sporting Lisbon. You go home, but you'd have to take a massive pay cut. But yeah, apparently now after. Yeah, Eric Ten Hag's like, we want him to be a part of the team. We want him to be a part of the club and everything. Maybe stepping over a teammate to go get your Lucozade in the 37th minute when your team's getting smoked by Brentford. That's pretty much it for me. It's And so now Cristiano Ronaldo can go and find a new club if a new club can go and find him. I know.
Man, It's this weird thing where people don't always read the room about their situation, because I need to go play Champions League football. I'm going to go do it elsewhere. I'm like, okay, for who?
Yeah.
Who is going to bring you in right now? You have proven yourself to be a cancer. You're not the player you were. You're probably going to command a high salary. Where are you going to go?
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, who's going to play you right now? Because I feel like the clubs that have the financial room to sign him have better options. Just, I wouldn't want him on my club. I wouldn't want him if for no other reason. If he doesn't have it, where I have a better option, I don't want him sulking on the bench, making things worse in my life.
Yeah. Abby says cancel his contract for breach. And Sean is saying you got to love when Ronaldo is getting mentioned going to Chelsea. Yeah, like that would happen. And so Will, I think Will has in all caps, of course, and this is Will in all caps. F it, send him to PSG. I want Messi and Ronaldo on the same team just once. and Neymar. So what Will is proposing is Neymar, Messi, and Ronaldo all in the same spot.
What Will is proposing is a degree of violence.
Yes, that is not wrong. And so that is not wrong. But yeah, the number of clubs that can have a Cristiano Ronaldo, very, very small. And as Cristiano Ronaldo decides, my abs can take the pay cut. The Theragun sponsorship dollars take care of themselves. And it's, but yeah, Joe Prince Wright came out with a story about a half hour ago. And Sean Vergara, no shot he goes to any UEFA club. Sam Williamson, CR7, has all the money. I think he'll take a pay cut to get out of the upside down world of Manchester United. Sean is volunteering perhaps that he should go to your Vancouver Whitecaps, Jarrett.
Not my thing. Look, my soul is tied to San Jose.
Yes.
My heart is not big enough for another club. My heart is not big enough for a Vancouver. That is someone else's burden to carry. This Sisyphus already has his San Jose-shaped rock that he's pushing up the hill that will roll back over him many times.
The labor of Sisyphus involving...
I already have my stone going up the hill. I don't need another one. Vancouver, I'm sorry. I'm taken.
Yeah.
You had your chance.
Yep.
You missed it.
Yep.
This damned soul is already tied to the Quakes.
Yes, that is true. Abby's saying, please don't let Darren take him to Newcastle. I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen because that's not Champions League. I mean, you could bet on the idea that Newcastle might get into European football, but I think that Cristiano Ronaldo wants to play now. And I think that it would be just too much of a financial burden for anybody. Will, to his point about PSG already has enough cancer, it won't make it worse.
Send him to LAFC. See if he'll go for
AM.
See if he'll go for GAM to LAFC.
Yes. So we'll see if that happens. Let's see. Michael Head saying Ronaldo to Chelsea and all caps. No. And Sam Williamson with the point that regardless of where Ronaldo goes, they'll still lose in the semis of any competition. So
yes.
Yeah. So there you go. But that was the big news that came out about a half hour ago. Cristiano Ronaldo, don't let the door hit you on the way out, provided you find a place. Yeah, I know, Abby. He is a spoiled brat, needs to learn a lesson. But, what do you just maybe sit him on the bench or something? And just, it's like, dude, you're going to sit right there, and then the fans will be outraged, and you'll have that to deal with. I think the biggest thing is just to find a home for him and jettison that contract and that individual as quickly as humanly possible to make sure that you can just go ahead and get on with it and start that next stage of getting rid of the players that you need to get rid of if you're Eric Ten Hag, and make sure that you can get Manchester United moving in the direction that you want to, even though my heart tells me that they will not give Eric Ten Hag the time to do it. He will probably get sent on his way far too soon to get things done with the project that he wants to do. But like I said, that's just me, Jarrett. I don't know.
No, it kind of feels like that way. It kind of feels like he's just he's rolled into such a toxic situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who you would give the Manchester United project to.
Oof.
because it is such an absolute mess.
Yeah.
I don't know who you give it to, man.
I know.
Like, who am I supposed to? Who am I supposed to stay? Oh well, it's not Eric Ten. Eric Ten Hag was people. When he came in, everybody's like, okay, this is a good move. This is the right guy for this situation. Man, he should be able to do it. Like, how much time are you going to give him? Because it's not starting well at all, and it just looks awful. And who do you go get after this? Like,
Sam
who
Williamson
among
Gajardo? Sam Williamson says Gajardo.
Man, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole if I were Gajardo, because if he's trying to establish himself in Europe, the last thing he needs to do is go someplace that is toxic and an absolute mess.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely true. And so
and then everybody will treat him the same way they treated everyone treat him the same way they treated Frank when he was at Crystal Palace, where it's like, I didn't do it. Like, well, Crystal Palace was a hot mess at the time. I still didn't do it. Well,
because you gave him 33 days to do it.
Context. And yeah, I hope that if this doesn't work, that Eric Ten Hag isn't saddled with the same with the same ring around his neck.
Oh, I'm sure that the media, especially in I can't do it, but I'll just say the English media will definitely use that kind of a saddle. Well, he couldn't cut it here, so obviously he's not a good manager.
Yeah, Will's right. Every new manager is Bud Selig to Manfred over and over again. This is just like an eternal trip of we are going to make Bud Selig we're gonna make Bud Selig look good. We're gonna make the last few managers look even better. We're gonna make Louis van Gaal look great. We're gonna make Ole look great. This is the same philosophy that Rob Manfred's entire existence, I'm convinced, is to make Bud Selig look like a great commissioner.
Yes. Sean reminds us that the next fixtures for Manchester United are Liverpool and then Southampton.
Yeah.
Liverpool. Good luck on that one. See,
Liverpool has not won a game this year, so I just want to. And that's going to change. Don't get me wrong. That's going to change. I'm going to enjoy it for a moment because I think it's funny, because I don't really care about the English Premier League, so I'm just entertained by it.
Over. The race is over. Liverpool's only drawn twice. The race is over. It's done. Stick a fork in it after 2. It's not going to happen. It's all game over, man.
I don't think Liverpool will be as bad as anyone thinks they will be. I mean, it's going to be okay.
No, but that, since they played on Monday Night Football, I guess that was my overreaction Tuesday that some folks are having. But yeah, and then at Southampton Southampton is after Liverpool. Sean maintains that if Manchester United, if Ten Hag loses, or if Ten Hag loses to Southampton, then he's out the door. That would be a profound mistake if the board.
Would be such a fast decision, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. Oh,
yeah. And Sean, you're right. Like, Crystal Palace isn't a pushover. They were solid. They were solid before, Liverpool went down to 10 men and they got a moment of brilliance. And then Crystal Palace damn near lost the game anyway. They're not a pushover, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, and required/requested reading today for those of you that want to really see about the financials of Manchester United since the Glazer takeover. Swiss Ramble has a fantastic thread on the finances of Manchester United and what the Glazers have done to the coffers at Manchester United, investments and restructuring and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit of a long read. So while you are having your midday meal or your next meal, then I would go to Swiss Ramble on Twitter and look at the thread that they've posted about Manchester United and the Glazers. It's a great thread. I know there's a lot of financials attached to it, but it does give you context to what we've seen with Manchester United over the last handful of years. So that's your morning kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And they're also on the media that is social, on the Twitters, on Facebook, and on Instagram at Kickoff Coffee CO, kickoffcoffeeco.com. When you want to purchase Kickoff Coffee, use the code SoccerDownHere15, and that'll get you 15% off your purchase. And then they, in turn, take 10% of their proceeds and invest them in the youth game, which is very, very cool stuff that we're seeing from our friends at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCO.com. They are here with the morning kickoff every single day. And you'll also notice that after yesterday, I found the Alumni sign, and I found the proper placing for it above my left shoulder. So when I cut the promo here in the second half hour, you will actually see the Alumni sign. So I'm kind of working my way back into doing the live thing, making sure all the props are in place and making sure that things are where they're supposed to be, and maybe having the right overlays and things like that when it comes to sequencing. And like I said, doing this gives me a profound appreciation for all the different knobs and levers that Jason pulls on a daily basis when he hosts this thing. I mean, I would rather have, like you said, I would rather have the big kahuna so I can sit there and push buttons instead of sitting there and going, okay, I've got to flip a tab, I've got to do this, I've got to come down, I got to do this. All this sequencing is a new experience for me. But yeah, Michael Wolf Zaha should have won it. But that's and Darwin Nunez, by the way, soccer down here 15, Sharif, in all, it lay it all out in letters. Soccer down here 15. That's your code for the promo code for our friends at Kickoff Coffee to get you 15% off. Soccer down here 15. And I know I need to learn to put names and addresses on there too. And that's the other thing. It's like, I thought that the lower third would come across when I was putting names up, but for some reason I got to figure out why the names are up. It's like it says in the cue speaker, and I know I'm pulling back the curtain on producing the show here a little bit. But when you're in the waiting room, it has your name, it has your display name, and it has Jarrett's, and it has everybody's display names that are there. But then when you come into program and you're on this side of the wall, they somehow disappear. So I've got to figure out that's the next part of this. Now that I've found the banners and I found the intro music and I found all this other stuff, I got to figure out why the lower thirds don't exist. So that's my next task. Maybe as we continue to do this on a daily basis, it'll be like adding things. It's like you add this, you add this, you add this. I'm adding bells and whistles as we go, as I first off figure out how to find them, and then figure out how to actually make them work. So that's the biggest task. But Darwin Nunez, by the way, moment of madness, Jarrett, yesterday with the goading and then just heading the dude from Crystal Palace. I mean,
never go full Zidane.
No,
that's just the rule, man. Just don't do it.
No, don't do it.
Don't go full Zidane,
especially in a game when you're trying to come back you're down a goal, then you're down a man, and then Luis Diaz just with an absolute rocket to tie it up like 2 minutes later. And then that way it was 1-1, and it was a fight for the final 25 or 30 minutes. What I wanted to do this morning for the rest of the time, in addition to all the transfer news that's been happening this morning, there have been some transactions overseas because, once again, remember, we still have another couple of weeks left in the transfer window in England and the Prem and a couple of other places. I wanted to go back over the rest of the matches from the weekend in Major League Soccer and see what Jarrett did find his avatar, Abby. So he's far more ahead of the game than I am when it comes to working things.
I had to re-download it. I couldn't even find it in my phone.
Oh, wow. But yeah, he's far ahead of what I've been able to perform here on very short notice. And when we've also got MLS After Dark tonight, and with
Jason, you knew you weren't getting 2 days in a row. Calm down.
But LAFC and DC United. Wow. Okay, so yesterday on the show, and that's reacting to juice boxes. Yesterday on the show, it was mentioned that Bale and Chiellini did not play on the weekend because of load management. Those were the words that LAFC used. Those were the words that Dave Denholm, the play-by-play voice for LAFC, used on air. And it was revealed yesterday that the two of them had, I think it was soft tissue injuries and were held out of practice. And so it appears that they probably will not be playing in the midweek against DC United. And yesterday, we had the numbers where LAFC in the juice boxes wasn't quite to minus 400, and DC United was like plus 825. So riddle me this. You're probably not going to have Bale. You're probably not going to have Chiellini. The numbers went up.
It doesn't matter.
LAFC is a minus 435. Your draw is a plus 566. DC United on the road is basically now a plus 1,000 tonight in MLS After Dark.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter. Like, you could rest Vela in this game, and you would feel good about it.
Well, that's the other thing. We got to talk fantasy before we go, too. We got to talk. It's a double match. We have to talk.
No, you're right. But you could rest Vela in this one because it's going to be so just potentially so dumb. Now, as I say that, could this be one of those stupid like peak MLS games? It could. That would be the most peak of peak MLS if it happened. I don't expect it to.
No, I don't either.
I mean, that would be just one of the dumbest results in probably the last 4 or 5 years.
Yes, absolutely.
But damn.
Yeah, I know. Plus 1,000 right now, basically, for DC United. And that's a composite. We take a composite from our friends at Odds Portal, and they usually will run anywhere from 15 to 18 different juice box purveyors. And that's an average of basically a plus 1,000. It was plus 999. It's probably going to change during the show, and if it does, I'll probably hit a whistle or something that to get you to plus 1,000. But from the other matches on the weekend, and we can get into the crazy of how things are in the standings, but just hope that, folks don't just understand that that's where things are right now. And you've got 12 teams that are going to play today and tomorrow, and that'll push things forward as we go. Other matches on the weekend that struck your fancy outside of Goal 20K from Andrew Gutman.
All right, well, let's pull it up and take a look and refresh my memory.
Well, you've got Orlando with the 1-0 win over Red Bulls. Pato is.
I felt bad for Pato just because Pato's got some big Tracy McGrady energy, where his entire career is a what if. Yep. I do hate it for Pato because he actually has been a lot of fun for Orlando. Dude just cannot stay on the field to save his life.
No.
Philadelphia took down Chicago. Toronto, Portland was weird for like 60 minutes, which I told you, if you wanted to pick a weird game, that might be it, where Toronto had a 1-0 lead, could not put Portland away. Portland gets a goal against a run of play. Then Toronto gets 2 and goes pretty comfortably. But for 60 minutes there, it kind of felt like, oh, this is Portland throwing a bear trap at your face. And you have to catch it. I guess if you want to pick one to talk about that was crazy, I mean, the answer is Austin and Sporting.
Oh, no question. Nothing like your average 4-3 game where Sebastian Driussi sits there and reinforces, I think, his MVP campaign. And you end up with, all right, so Austin was obviously a home favorite. Sporting was a plus 355, and Austin was basically minus 150. But Austin, once again, shows at home at Q2 that they can put up numbers. And there's some spacing between 1 and 2, and then there's spacing between 2 and 3 right now in the West. And it's going to be very interesting with Austin as this 2 seed, probably, maybe, possibly, as we get into the postseason here, unless something just happens where it just completely collapses. Actually, it's a 9-point difference now between them and third place Dallas. So, with a handful of games to go, Austin right now is at 48 points. They've won 2 of their last 3. They've got 7 points in their last 3. But Austin is proving to be this thorn in the side for folks in the West. And, right now, I like what I'm seeing, especially at home, but I've still got to be proven on the road when it comes to Austin.
Yeah, that's the grand thing we talk about that applies to every team in this league is being able to win on the road because it's really difficult. And I don't know how else to explain that to people that, when teams don't win on the road, that's just kind of what happens in MLS. It's really tough to win on the road in this league. That is a consistent thing throughout all time and space.
Yes.
Austin has had some games. I remember Austin went and basically defanged LAFC. Mm-hmm. That was wild. But they've also had, like the games where they just got absolutely embarrassed by the Galaxy. They still give up goals, and I'm not the first person to say this. I won't be the last to say it. But if Brad Stuver isn't making great saves, they're going to surrender goals.
Yep.
Austin Toronto might be like the most fun game we could possibly get because both of them are going to score a lot. Neither one of them really believe in defense. But for Austin, you get Brad Stuver standing on his head for enough times, and you can kind of keep it within earshot because, look, and Sporting's an interesting case in this one, too, on the other side of the coin, because Sporting brought some guys in to kind of recharge their attack. Remember last year, led by Daniel Shalhoub, led by Johnny Russell, both of them have not been the same guys this year. And for Shalhoub, it's a really bad time to have that because you're going in free agency. For Johnny Russell, is Johnny Russell just slowing down because he's 33? Was it just a bad year? He's still capable of those moments. So I wonder if Johnny Russell doesn't stay in Kansas City, and I think he might.
Yeah.
If he didn't, I wonder if like an Albert Rusnak kind of role for him would work.
Huh.
What Rusnak has in Seattle, where I'm not going to necessarily ask you to carry the load for 30 games, but I want to be able to pick my spots with you. And I think there are a number of teams that if you were able to bring him in and say, hey, I don't need you to be the guy. I need you to be the third option.
Yeah.
And I need you to, we can pick your spots with you. We can rest you. We've got guys we can play around you. I wonder if that is what Johnny Russell needs at this point, because I think in doses he could still be an absolute problem. They still don't have good defensive. They've still got defensive issues. Tim Melia kind of feels like we're coming to the end of the road.
Point of
yeah, and Tim Melia has like been underrated for so long now. It almost feels like he's just rated.
Yes. To give you an idea about Sporting obviously last in the West, but Houston, San Jose, and Sporting, they're all right there. Houston's at 25 points. San Jose's at 24. Houston's lost 4 in a row, by the way. San Jose has lost 3 of 5. They've gotten 2 points in their last 5. Sporting has lost 4 of 5. They had the win a little two matches ago where they beat LA Galaxy 4-2. Given up 48 goals this year. That is tied for next to last in the league. Once again, we can go back to the conversation about not having a 6 and what happens when Ilie goes to LAFC. The only team that has given up more goals than Sporting and DC United at 48 is your Quakes at 53. But you look at the offensive numbers, Sporting has, of those, they have the least amount of goals scored. They have the least amount of goals scored, period. They've got 26 goals scored. Chicago and DC have 28. DC's the other club that's given up 48 goals this year. And Orlando has scored 28 goals. So Sporting has the worst offense and the next to last worst defense, if that makes sense. They're next to last in defense, and they have the worst offense in the league. That's not a good combination, even though, it has been a long year with 8 matches to go for Sporting Kansas City, but it is just 6 wins, 15 losses in their 26 matches this year.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Pulido has not been able to be the guy. He can't stay healthy. Then you lose your number 6. You don't really have a backup for that, so you don't really have anyone protecting the back line. It's not great, Bob. It's not great. Because people have asked about it, so we can rehash it. And we've discussed this before, but I think you're not going to make any grand changes just because you got a guy in Peter Vermes who's been there for so long. He is an institution.
Yeah.
But if you repeat this next year, then you're making that. I think you're making that conversation right now. Nah, it's a bad year for injuries. It's a bad year for injuries at the worst possible places. It's a club that's not going to be able to spin their way out of trouble that consistently. They're starting to get a little bit of firepower back into it. And maybe they're a team that's just going to try and outscore some people at the end of the season here and see what happens and then build into next year.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at. Yeah. Yes. Nick says that the second half against Austin was awful defensively. Not wrong. And
that's how they've been most of the season.
Yeah, and so
it opens up, and if it opens up, they get strung out, and it basically becomes like a Predator movie.
Yes,
and they're a commando.
Then the other, let's go to Lipstick City and talk about the two LA teams on Saturday. LA Galaxy putting 5 on Vancouver. Vancouver, traditionally, we talked about how tough it is to be on the road, losing 5-2. And then LAFC in a match against Charlotte was scoreless at the half. And they go on to score 5 in the second half to win 5-0. And Charlotte right now has lost 4 of 5. They are tied with that group of folks at 29 points. They have the most wins, which puts them in 11th right now in the standings. They've got 9 wins in 29. Toronto's got 8 wins in 29. Atlanta United 7 wins in 29 match in hand, which gets brought back up to square on tomorrow night against Red Bulls at Mercedes-Benz. Charlotte has been just look at the last 5. You've got the 5-0 loss to LAFC, 3-2 shootout loss to Chicago. You had the 3-0 win to DC United. Everybody beats DC. Then you go on the road, and that was the 4-0 blitz at BMO against Toronto, and then it was Inter Miami where you go to DRVP and K and you lose 3-2. And I think, and you can phrase this however you like, I've got 2 ways to think about it. Charlotte's either regressing to the mean or they're coming back to earth with the roster that they have. I think that the wake-up call has happened, and I think they hit the wall.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this with Charlotte. Again, we'll talk about it again. I mean, it's a team that doesn't have a lot of depth because they're an expansion team. That's not necessarily their fault. You're an expansion team. You're going to be limited on what you can and can't do, especially when it comes to depth. And if you have injuries, you're generally going to be screwed against the top of the top. That's what happened. And they haven't gotten production consistently out of the places they need it. Your number 10 is kind of an enigma who has not played well. Swiderski has started to score again a little bit, but it hasn't been great. He started great, and it hasn't been able to keep it going. Jozwiak, who, I mean, let's face it, they set Jozwiak up for failure with the comments about how he scored in Europe and did this, that, and the other. Scoring against MLS won't be a big deal. Dude has 0 goals and 0 assists in over 600 minutes.
Yes.
You kind of set him up for failure there.
Yeah.
And he struggled. And whether it's comfort or, whether it's, new environment, whatever it might be, he struggled, but you're not getting enough. Shinyashiki helped keep things going during a really tumultuous time when you changed managers with MAR leaving.
Yep.
But yeah, man, Charlotte's got to retool this, and that's okay. Because when you're an expansion team, you're not always going to get it right on the first try. You get it right enough to where you got some really cool moments you can hang your hat on. And you see, okay, here's what we did that worked. Here's what we did that didn't work. Oh, we also changed our manager halfway through the season. We'll update everything, kind of hit the reset button, go into year 2 feeling good. I think they're tied with Atlanta on points.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not optimistic about them the rest of the year because Charlotte's schedule is brutal, man.
Yes.
LA and going to LAFC, no one wants to go play LAFC late at night in LAFC. You have to go across the country. You were doomed from the start there. But get away from that, you still got a lot of tough games.
Yeah. Nix is saying that MAR has to be shaking his head somewhere going, I tried to tell them. He's like, yo, man, I tried to tell them.
Yeah. And honestly, I thought there were stretches where they played better than I thought they would. But wasn't enough.
And it's going to be, and as I sit here and try to look up, you go to charlottefc.com and it ends up being Charlotte free consultation. That's not the Charlotte FC that I was looking for, because I don't think that they have the information for Charlotte Football Club that I was looking for their run in here. So schedule, just so you mentioned their run in, so I just wanted to get the official schedule up for their run in. It is Charlotte tomorrow, and that's it. That's at Red Bull Arena. That is not at Yankee Stadium, so they will be playing on a regulation pitch, not the U12 futsal version. Then they come back on the weekend and play Orlando, and I give Greg Garza credit for that one. Then after that, it is Toronto visiting Charlotte. That gets you through August. September at Cincinnati. Then they are hosting NYC. Then they go to Chicago, then the international break, and then October gives them Philadelphia visiting, Columbus visiting, and decision day, they are at Red Bull Arena again against Red Bull. So that is the run-in for Charlotte here for the remaining X number of matches on the season. They've got the 9 matches left, and they've lost 4 of 5. That's their run-in, and that is what I believe that's what we refer to as a tall order. And
Yes.
Michael Head says he'd really like for Charlotte to lose out.
I mean, I don't think they'll lose out. I think they've got enough. They've shown you that they've got guts.
Yeah,
they've shown you that they've got cojones. They just, I don't know if what they're gonna be able to do consistently through the rest of the season.
Yeah,
that's okay. They'll figure it out. Like I said, you got an off season now to kind of reset everything. You've seen some good, you've seen some bad. Now you've seen what you can build with. So go do it.
Since we've got 20 minutes left, I think we're at the halfway point of the show. I'll read the Alumni promo now. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, it's the Friends Over My Left Shoulder. For those of you watching on Twitch, it's Alumni service, deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Alumni service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers, kind to the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or other masking agents that you have either in the cupboard or under the sink, because when you open that door and you spray the masking agent in the air, that's all it is. It's a masking agent. It doesn't attack all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Alumni do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing easy, one of 2 ways. Either by the cubic feet or by the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. Any questions that you have, frequently asked or otherwise, go to the website, alumni.com, but do us a favor, add a /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world you're talking to them from. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, alumni.com/Atlanta. Alumni Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. So in the final 17 minutes or so, we got to talk a little fantasy. We got to talk a little bit of what's going on over in Europe. And tomorrow, as a part of everything that we have going on tomorrow, get this. I'm going to try and have Dylan Butler come on the show at 10 o'clock, do the live thing. And so we'll have Dylan on at 10, John's technological prowess permitting. And we've also got the midweek whip around, patent pending trademark coming, because we have 5 games. We have 5 games tomorrow, including Atlanta and Red Bulls, and we'll get you prepared for that one too, with what you guys think about with a must-win. It is a must-win for Atlanta United. You've got a game in hand, and what you can do is make your way up to 10th in the standings, be a point out of the playoff picture as things would go with one of the Eastern Conference games. So must-win, must-win, must-win. Got to have full points tomorrow. And it is Atlanta and Red Bulls, 7:30. I think it's a 7:38 kick, so that means that pregame show on 92.9 The Game with Mike and Jason is at 7 o'clock, and you can listen to them and sync up your TVs, or you can watch TV in one room, have the audio in your earbuds, and however you want to do it. So it's 7 o'clock pregame, 92.9 The Game, and the Odyssey app for Atlanta United and Red Bulls tomorrow. So that's what tomorrow's going to be like. Once again, keep your fingers crossed about me and my prowess. But when you're looking at the Sunday matches. We didn't get to talk about the Sunday matches. I want to get those in before we head to the other news of the day. Nashville and Minnesota. You have been saying, sir, that Nashville has an issue. They should have stayed at Nissan Stadium. But other than that, they got problems right now. And yes, Hani Mukhtar tried to save them, but Minnesota gets the win at Geodis as a plus 301. Jarrett, Minnesota 2-1 winners against Nashville.
Yes.
It's just You said it.
Yeah, and I'm not the only one. Like, plenty of people have. Nashville is basically the same team they were in 2020. Changed a couple parts here and there, except the worst part for them, they don't defend like demons like they used to. Like, remember 2020, 2021, they would just be the wall upon which your wave broke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they would just stand up and defend you.
Yeah.
All day. They'd get a goal on the counter, and then you would just push and push and push, and nothing positive would happen for you. Except that doesn't seem to happen anymore.
Yeah.
And they're relying on Hani Mukhtar to make something happen. Akilob is not that dude.
No.
Alex Muil is trying in doses, but Alex Muil kind of has a ceiling. They don't really have anybody to kind of grab the game by the scruff other than Hani Mukhtar. And if he doesn't do it, then kind of screwed. Which is funny because you played a Minnesota team that traditionally, if Reynoso doesn't grab the game by the scruff, they're screwed. Now, granted, I don't know what Shaq Moore did to Reynoso, but it must have been bad.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point in that game, Reynoso seemed like he made it a personal task to break Shaq Moore.
Mm-hmm. And that did not look pretty. If you were a follower / fan of Nashville and Shaq Moore, yeah, you had goal by Fragapane that got you the one on the board, and then you get the second one late. And I know that traditionally, when you've got a goal lead on the road, you have to be on your toes to make sure that equalizer doesn't come quickly. It came, but then Minnesota gets the Duke, and they win it 2-1. We'll get into the Western Conference here in just a little bit. We talked about 1 and 2, but they have the same kind of gaggle going on in the West as well. And then what we'll do on Thursday is that we will have our weekly visit from our friend Nico Moreno at Pulso Sports, and we'll talk to him about what it was like to run a little color commentary as he was on the Spanish language broadcast recently. So we'll talk to Nico about what it was like to be in the booth. But RSL goes to Seattle, gets the win at a plus 351. So Seattle, you're thinking, okay, fairly impenetrable at home, but not so much because they lose to RSL 2-1. And that kind of puts things in the blender a bit if you're a fan of Seattle, because RSL now is got a little bit of distance. RSL's kind of in that 3-4-5 now, with Dallas at 39, Minnesota United with the win at 38, RSL with the win on the road at 37 points. But RSL goes on the road to Seattle, and Seattle doesn't seem to be all that bulletproof right now.
No, they really don't. It's like we talked about yesterday, man. Like Seattle, you kind of keep waiting for them to flip the switch because they're Seattle. It's what they do. They flip the switch and they're fine. But it hasn't happened, and it's just not happening.
No,
and they've got the guys to do it, but they're falling just short, like agonizingly short in the process. Because we're talking about a situation where they are losing 1-goal games consistently. It is just positively agonizing for them, I am sure. They just cannot seem to get it over that hill. And you are running out of time. Because, again, same problem that Atlanta's going to have. You got bodies between you and the promised land. And you got to get through those bodies. You can sit there and say, oh, well, you're only a few points out of first. Like, yes, accurate. But you got bodies between you and that spot.
Mm-hmm. Right now, and you mentioned the 1-goal games. The last 5, regardless of result for Seattle, have all been 1-goal deciders. They lose 2-1 to RSL, lose 2-1 to Atlanta United, win 1-0 against FC Dallas at home, lose 2-1 at LAFC. Then they won 2-1 against Colorado. So their last 5 have been 1-goal games. And right now they're in that hashtag gaggle in the West that we've been discussing. Right now you got 3 teams at 33 points. And this is 6, 7, and then below the playoff bar. 6 and 7 are Nashville and Portland. And Galaxy with 10 wins at 33. They're at 6. Nashville with 8 wins at 33. They're in 7th. That would be your playoffs if they started today, which they don't. Portland, 7 wins in 26 matches. So the Galaxy have 10 wins and 2 matches in hand right now. And they can work their way up closer to 5th. with any kind of massive points that they can get into to get those matches in hand. So Portland below the playoff bar, 7 wins and 33. Seattle, match in hand on 2 teams above them, 9th at 32, having lost 3 of 4. Colorado is behind Seattle at 31 points, match in hand, 2 matches in hand on Nashville and Portland. Vancouver is at 30 points. They lost their last match out. They've played 25. They have 8 wins. So you're looking at 6 teams separated by 3 points, chasing after 2 playoff spots right now in the West. And that group is LAG, Nashville, Portland, Seattle, Colorado, and Vancouver right now in the West.
Yeah, it's again, you got bodies you got to get through. You're asking for help, and that's not the place you want to be in. You don't want to be asking. You don't want to be asking team, asking for help, like saying, okay, we need this result to go our way. No, you want it to be, hey, if we win, we take care of ourselves. You don't want to be in that situation where you're asking other people to help you out.
Right. And so that's where a lot of teams are when it comes to everything going on in Major League Soccer. So, Jarrett, I'm going to let you go so I can go over fantasy and some news before we go over in the Premier League, because it's a double match week, and there is plot lines in fantasy here for the Fantasy League. Can Chris Ashley run the table this season and go without a loss? He has the 1 draw this season, but so far that's the only blemish on the man's record. We have fantasy that we have to get to. So are you going to stay up tonight and watch LAFC and DC United even for a good day?
I'm going to try, but we're pushing up on my bedtime.
You and me both, brother. But so we'll be back at it with you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Sweet. That's Jarrett _Smith hanging out with us here on the show. And so let's get into fantasy, because we do have our fantasy notes, and we do have fantasy notes and selections. They have been posted once again, thanks to our friends at the Jason Wright Agency, Jason Wright with a WAGEN on Twitter. And we will go over the likes, dislikes with everything that has been suggested with the fantasy. And so let's remember, it's a double match week. So if you're really interested in getting double points, you've got to lock it down today to get your rosters squared away. So, as I sit here and try to scan for it, it's like, come on. It's like I saw it this morning. And so, of course, I want to sit there. It's Patrick Smith for the recommendations. So let's see what Patrick had for the recommendations. And let's see if they are, in fact, posted. Here we go, I think. Petrovic against DC, Kai Wagner. That's last week. I thought we had this week's. Come on now. So, of course, I'm sitting here trying to look for it. Here we go. Week 23 options. Finally. Okay, here we go. Week 23 options in fantasy. Your locks, Diego Palacios, goalkeeper and defense, at 10.4 versus DC and San Jose. Only 6% have Palacios at present. Coming off a 14-point performance against Charlotte, Diego has 2 very favorable matchups to put up another large haul. A defender involved in the attack plays DC and San Jose in a double match week. Has to be a lock. Lock in the midweek and forwards is Sifu. Only 3% have Sifu at present. And once again, versus DC and at San Jose for one of the other rounds of the Cali Classico. Sifu, very solid season at 10.7 million, only 3% owned. So that's big as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. Consider LAFC. Once again, Maxime Crépeau at 8.3. Only 5% have Maxime Crépeau right now in the consider category. Consider category also midfield and forward, Lorenzo Insigne, and he's at 10.7, 5% owned. And so we'll keep an eye on that. Then value picks, Mr. 20K, Andrew Gutman at 5.9, going up against Red Bulls and Columbus. The rationale with Gutman, according to Patrick, so nice, let's do it twice. Included Gutman last week as a fun shout-out. He got another late-game goal, so here we are again. Brought a fire with him since returning from injury. Love to see it. And the value pick in midfield and forward, Marcelino Moreno at 7.7, only 3% owned, with not a lot of value options that Patrick likes this week. So he's giving Marcy a spot on the list. Full of talent and frustration, meaning Atlanta. Marcy fits both of those, can be a great facilitator given the chance, personally going Almada. But if you need budget, Moreno is worth the shout. So once again, Locks, Diego Palacios, LAFC, 6% owned at 10.4. Lock in midfield and forward, Sifu, 10.7, 3% owned. Consider Maxime Crepeau at 8.3, 5% owned. Consider midfield forward Insigne at 10.7, 5% owned. Value picks, Andrew Gutman at 5.9, Marcelino Moreno at 7.7. Once again, thanks to our friends at the Jason Wright Agency. Jason Wright with the WAGEN on Twitter, and for being everything that has had the Fantasy League together. So Patrick Smith, once again, Patrick N. Smith 82, if you want to follow Patrick on the Twitters. Patrick is giving the recommendations. 7 weeks left in fantasy. So time to make your moves if you're wanting to make your moves in the league. So I'm currently mid-table. I think I'm 13th and 30 in the Pro Rel. But Patrick N. Smith 82 gives you your fantasy recs every single week. So once again, thanks to the Jason Wright and the Jason Wright Agency. Thanks to Patrick for the recommendations. So that is your quick look at fantasy in the Soccer Down Here Fantasy League. And good luck, everyone. And it starts tonight with LAFC and DC United. And if you're going double match week, do not go with Bale and Chiellini, because it looks like they are not going to be participating in double match weeks. A couple of more news notes before we go. It looks like Everton has rejected the $45 million bid from Chelsea for Anthony Gordon. Wesley Fofana at Leicester City thinks that Leicester's pricing him out of a move at Chelsea. And so they've had a couple of bids that have already been rejected by Leicester for Fofana. So Fofana, after the Leicester match this weekend, he was, I think, one of the only players that actually went over and applauded the Leicester fans. So he was thinking that might be saying something, but apparently not, because it looks like right now Leicester might be trying to keep him and just trying to drive the price up and up and up to where Chelsea says no. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Manchester City has signed the left back from Anderlecht for 11 million pounds or 13 million euros. Sergio Gomez initially thought, and this is something that we've been talking about a while, thought that the 21-year-old might be loaned out. Pep Guardiola says he's going to stay. Gomez quoted as saying, playing for and being guided by Pep and his coaches is going to be very special. And so Sergio Gomez is now heading to Manchester City. The Wolves have agreed on a club record signing of £42.2 million, signing Sporting Lisbon midfielder Mateus Nunes. Wolves are going to pay an initial $38 million with $4.2 in add-ons. Personal terms yet to be finalized. Bruno Lage's side is hoping to complete the deal in time for him to be involved with Saturday's match against Spurs. And yes, they need all the help they can get. Watford has rejected Newcastle's £17.5 million bid for Joao Pedro, as now they're targeting Chelsea's Conor Gallagher. Crystal Palace probably should try to find a way to get Conor Gallagher back. Now, Watford's stance, Joao Pedro is not for sale. Scored in the opening day win over Sheffield United. Eddie Howe's looking to strengthen the midfield after the injury to John Joe Shelby. So we'll keep an eye on that. Is Manchester United weighing a bid for Cunha or in Kaladzic? We'll keep an eye on those as well. And Chelsea has agreed with a deal with Inter Milan to sign Cesare Casade, according to Sky in Italy. It is a 12.6 million pound, 15 million euro plus 5 million in add-ons. Very last details are being filed. Casade, 19 years old, has not made a senior appearance for Inter. And a question for Jason Nix before we go. Should Pulisic be trying to get out of Chelsea or stay and try to win over his maniacal boss to get on the field? Honestly, if I'm Christian Pulisic, I want to go someplace where I want to play. And that's, it might be difficult right now. And you're weighing these options, Jason. And right now, if I'm Pulisic, I want to play because I need to be in as tip-top a shape as humanly possible as my team's heading to Qatar. So you do what you try to do and, try to understand what your boss wants you to put together when it comes to everything laid out at Chelsea. So and we talk about this with the keepers too. Matt Turner, I don't think he's going to be playing. Why do you think Zach Steffen went to Middlesbrough? Sean Johnson with NYC is playing. And so that's kind of where things stand. I need to play. I want to play. That should be the number one thing that Christian Pulisic is looking out for so he can be as sharp as humanly possible for the U.S. men's national team. as they get ready for Qatar, and he's in the middle of a Premier League season at Chelsea. That's the Power Hour for this morning. Thanks to everybody who's hanging out with us and hanging out with me and putting up with me as I'm learning all of the bells and whistles that Jason has been more than happy to piece together and do ever so flawlessly as he does. Michael would get Pulisic out of CFC. No doubt. Yes, because if he ain't playing, he's not doing himself any benefit, and he's not doing the M&T any benefit either. So that's where I'm leaning. We'll see what happens with his time at Chelsea. We'll be back again tomorrow, 9:05. Dylan Butler, fingers crossed. If I can figure out how to work things, will be with us at 10, and we will continue to roll all the way through with your thoughts. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday, so anything is on the table. And we've also got the midweek whip around patent pending trademark coming because there's 5 matches. And we'll talk about LAFC and DC. Even if we don't stay awake for it with the DC United. Let me check real quick before we go with the odds. I want to see if it cleared plus 1,000. I'm curious. Now I'm curious with it. Did it clear? Yes. DC United in the composite is now north of plus 1,000 at plus 1014. Thanks to Nix. Thanks to DM Tim. Thanks to Michael Head. Thanks to everybody for hanging out with us. We'll do this again tomorrow. Mucho platio.